This is a video summary of Overlord Season 3. The movie title as well as the number of episodes are put below in the description for those who are interested. Ains gathers everyone in the throne room on the 10th floor to reward them for the things that they did during the Jaldabath event. First off, it's Sabaz and Solution. Ains says both of them completed their intelligence work excellently, so he decided to bestow each person with a reward. Ains says Sabaz begged him to spare Tuair's life, but Ains emphasizes he did that because he personally had a debt with her younger sister. Sabaz says his greatest wish is to serve the Supreme Being. Then Ains interrupts Sabaz. He says sometimes people also need to think for themselves, making Sabaz hastily apologize to Ains. Sabaz says if that's the case then he wants to ask Ains to grant Tuair clothes as well as necessary supplies. Ains immediately agrees. He says Sabaz can also take Tuair to buy those things. Consider it a date, making Sabaz all giddy. Next up is Solution's turn. She says she wants to receive some living humans. If they happen to be innocent people too, then Solution will be even happier. Ains says he accepts the first part of Solution's wish, but please forgive him because Ains cannot give her innocent people. Solution hurriedly says she doesn't deserve those words at all. He says next up is Intoma's part. She says she only has one wish, which is to ask Ains to give the order so she can take Evil Eye's life. Then steal her voice. That's why the old folks say, girls hold grudges and remember for a long time. Ains says when that time comes he will tell Intoma. She hastily thanks Ains. Ains is enjoying a comfortable feeling inside a super huge bathtub belonging to the 9th floor of Nazareth. He marvels, saying there's really nothing like the feeling of being able to bathe comfortably. After trying many methods, Ains realizes that slime is the most effective tool to clean his bony body. He laments that before when he was still in the real world, Ains could only use a sauna, so when he got here he didn't want to leave at all. Ains hears Demiurge report that Sabaz is being very intimate with Tuair. He wonders if the two of them are dating in Irantel? Whatever the case, arranging for his subordinates to rest is also the duty of the Supreme Being like himself. Z is walking to the large dining hall when she accidentally runs into the assistant butler Eclair on the way, making her amuse. At the large dining hall, the maids are laughing and joking happily with each other when Lupus Regina suddenly appears, startling everyone. Their jaws still dropped. Lupus Regina appears excited by the reactions of the girls there. She says she will try this trick when she gets to Carne Village, surprising everyone. They say Lupus Regina working in the human village must be very tiring, but she denied that, although it is a bit boring. While the whole group is chatting happily, they suddenly hear Eclair's cry for help. He begs CZ to release him because Eclair still has to carry out the noble mission of cleaning. But CZ doesn't care and tightens her grip even more, causing Eclair to faint. Z scolds Lupus Regina for eating first without waiting for her even though they both promised to eat together. And you have to admit, the portion sizes of these girls are terrifying. The nutrients are really going to the right places. Am I right, fellas? Sixus's group feels interested in chatting with CZ and Lupus Regina, but Sickus suddenly slaps her cheek hard with her hand. She says she can't keep being distracted like this because today is the day Sickus gets to serve Ains. Ains enters his office and is greeted by Sickus and the 8 Edge Assassins. Ains asks them why they aren't resting until their work hours. Go on in. Then Sickus says with all due respect that serving the Supreme Being is her and the 8 Edge Assassins' greatest happiness. He asks Sickus if she got enough rest yesterday. Then Sickus happily says she spent the whole day resting in order to best prepare to serve the Supreme Being, leaving Ains speechless. He secretly thinks why does this sound like a company exploiting its employees? If it weren't for Ains's orders, they would probably be working 24/7 already. He wonders why they are so loyal. Who knows? Demiurge knocks on the door and enters Ains's room. He's wondering why he doesn't see Albedo, so Ains explains that he has given her a break. He hands Demiurge the plan that Ains prepared for the male guardians, surprising him. Meanwhile, on the 6th floor, Albedo is summoning her mount to the shock of Aura and Shaltir. Aura says this definitely isn't a normal 2-horned unicorn, right? Albedo says that's right. It's dubbed the Lord of the 2-horned unicorns. Not to mention its level is also the maximum level 100. The beast seems unfriendly towards Albedo, making her a bit confused. Aura asks what Albedo's pet's name is, surprising her because Albedo never thought she would name her mount. She says if Ains allows it, Albedo wants to name it Supreme of the World. Shaltir pouts, saying isn't that name only for Ains? Then Albedo gives a cunning smile. So it turns out everything was calculated beforehand. When Albedo tries to sit on her pet, it appears extremely frightened, panting and then collapsing to the ground, leaving everyone confused about what's happening. Shaltir teases, saying could it be because Albedo is too heavy, making her angry this perfect body of mine and you're just talking nonsense. While the whole group still doesn't understand the reason, Shaltir suddenly laughs triumphantly. She takes out from her spatial storage a comprehensive encyclopedia compiled by Pararanchino himself. Shaltir with a proud face says this is a gift that Ains bestowed upon her. Aura says she was given Buka Buka Chugama's watch by Ains, making Albedo sad. She whispers to herself that apart from the guild ring, Albedo has never received anything of her own from Ains. She wishes she could receive something special from Ains, then puts her hand on her stomach. Shaltir suddenly shouts that she has found it, drawing Aura's and Albedo's attention. Shaltir says according to what's written here, a 1-horned unicorn is a symbol of purity. Therefore it only allows virgins to ride it. Meanwhile, a 2-horned unicorn is the opposite. Only girls who have lost their first time can ride it, leaving Shaltir and Aura frozen. Aura has to exclaim the heck? Albedo is a succubus, so why is it like this? Shaltir hurriedly searches for information about succubi. Albedo kneels down in despair. She says although she is a succubus, she completely doesn't have any experience with men at all. Albedo's daily work is just managing the other guardians, as well as standing guard inside the throne room. That's why Albedo has never come into contact with any other man besides Ains and the floor guardians. And Ains has never called her into his room either. Albedo jealously asks if Shultir already has experience in that regard. Startling her, Shultir shyly says truthfully she only has experience with the same gender. Making Aura exclaim oh my god. Shultir awkwardly explains that in this world, there isn't any man worthy of her besides Ains, right? Aura says even if Shultir says so, she can't agree with Shultir. Albedo says so now she understands the reason why she can't ride the two-horned unicorn. Albedo says it's really too unreasonable. Albedo suddenly comes up with a genius plan. Isn't it fine if she just asks Ains to help her? This makes Shultir angry, calling Albedo a cheater. Albedo retorts, saying it's necessary for a guardian overseer like her to be able to travel between the floors. Shultir snidely remarks forcing a man to sleep with you for work reasons. Albedo is truly a pathetic woman. Then these two start growling at each other again. Truly a case of some having too much and others not even scraps. Meanwhile, in the 6th floor arena, Mare is reading a book while observing Hamsuke training. Hamsuke says at all costs it must quickly master martial arts before the death knight beside it. But Zaryusu and Zenberu say martial arts aren't something that can be mastered overnight. Mare is reading a book when he suddenly receives a message from Demiurge. He immediately goes to the place he was told to meet and encounters Pulcinella. Demiurge's subordinate, who says he's here to give Mare the plan that Ains prepared for the male guardians. Then leaves. Mare has only read the first line of that document and it already makes him all excited. At the same time in his room, Ains is diligently practicing movements that he deems suitable for a supreme ruler. Ains says it would be better if he raised his arm a little higher. While simultaneously expressing his inner self, Ains carefully notes these details in a notebook titled, The Path to Becoming the Overlord of Nazareth. He sighs, saying from the beginning, the job of a supreme being was never suitable for a salaryman like him. The more he thinks about it, the more Ains wants to ask for a break from this job. Suddenly there's a knock on the door from Sikis saying that Albedo and Mare are waiting to meet him. Making Ains hurriedly put away the notebook, Ains steps out with the bearing of a monarch before the admiring gazes of Albedo and Mare. He sits down on his chair with a perfect movement that he has practiced countless times. Much to Mare's amazement, when he sees Mare's shyness, Ains asks him what's wrong, but he says it's because he thinks Ains is too cool, making him laugh heartily. Ains says Mare always knows how to say things that make others happy. Doesn't he? But he denied that. Mare says he truly thinks so and isn't flattering him at all. Just like the way Ains sat down in his chair, it was extremely like a ruler of Nazareth. Sikis also nods in agreement with that. Ains thanks Mare because his words always please him. Ains confides that he is always grateful to his comrades for leaving him such precious treasures. Making everyone happy, Sikis appears extremely surprised and touched that Ains even knows the name of a maid like her. Ains tells Mare that he is his treasure to the point that he doesn't want to return him to Bukabuka Chagama. Making Mare burst into tears. Albedo behind him starts showing strange signs like heavy breathing. Sikis tremblingly approaches Ains. She says even though she knows it would be very rude to say this, Sikis still wants to express her loyalty to him. Among all the supreme beings who have disappeared, only Ains alone has stayed with them until the very last moments. He says that's only natural because he is Ains Ulgaun, their master, making Albedo unable to maintain her composure any longer. When Ains is telling Mare to go wash his face, Albedo suddenly lunges towards him, startling Ains who suddenly doesn't understand what the heck is going on. Albedo says now she doesn't need to restrain her feelings anymore, then climbs on top of him. Ains tries to look around for help but Albedo tells him that everything will be over quickly so she tells Ains to just lie still for a bit. Ains asks Albedo what she's planning to do as she keeps shaking her hips like that. The 8 edge assassins immediately rush in to stop Albedo but they are all blown away by her overwhelming power. They request help from Mare but he and Sikis can only stand there frozen as they witness the scene. In the end, the things written in the secret plan that Ains sent to the male guardians have been carried out. I thought it was something really serious. But who knew it was just a group bathing session? Mare is diligently scrubbing Ains's bones when he suddenly says he'll scrub Mare's back later. Making Mare say he wouldn't dare accept. Ains's group suddenly hears the voices of Albedo's group on the other side of the wall. Albedo says Ains is bathing on this side. She wonders if there are any peepholes here. Aura says it should be the other way around, right? Then Shultir says what's the need for the other way around? Just one word from Ains and the sisters are ready to offer everything. Leaving Ains on this side speechless. Demiurge apologizes to Ains because Albedo, as the leader of the Guardians, is speaking like that. He will go over there to stop her. But Ains stops Demiurge. He says just let her and everyone bathe comfortably. Demiurge immediately obeys. Suddenly Ains's group hears the sound of a giant creature entering the female bath along with the screams of Albedo's group. Ains says it seems like Albedo's group is facing a very strong opponent while they themselves don't have any weapons. That's why he tells them to prepare to go over there to help the girls. Everyone obeys. Ains secretly thinks going for a bath and there's still no peace. Ains declares that today he will decide the path that Nazarick will take. He allows everyone to contribute ideas to build the most perfect plan possible. Ains orders Albedo and Demiurge to explain very simply what Nazarick has accomplished, as well as the future intentions he wants to move towards. They immediately obey. Ains secretly thinks that by giving such an order, he himself can somewhat understand Demiurge's plan while still pretending that he knew it from before. Ains thinks their top priority now is probably the survival of Nazarick. although he really wants to make Nazarik's reputation as widespread as possible in the hope of finding his comrades. But Ains tells himself that perhaps the first thing he should focus on is increasing Nazarik's strength. Then Demiurge suddenly speaks up. He says thanks to the help of Mare's group, they have captured all the leaders of the Eight Fingers, thereby controlling the underworld of the Re-Estais kingdom, leaving Ains completely clueless. Demiurge continues that this is the first step in Ains's plan to conquer the world, leaving Ains himself like, what the? Demiurge hopes that what he just said won't make anyone too stupid to understand. Everyone nods, only Ains is wide-eyed and open-mouthed. Ains secretly exclaims, what the? Conquer the world? Holy crap, where? Who said that? But Ains has to stay calm. Otherwise if they realize that he's the only one who doesn't know about this, he's dead. But when Ains tries to think about it again, this isn't a bad idea either. Because no matter what, it will help him increase Nazarik's reputation. Demiurge has a proud look on his face, like he's waiting for praise from Ains, who awkwardly says, so Demiurge still remembers what I said? He says he never forgets any of Ains's words, leaving Ains himself like, dude, did I ever say that? He stammers, saying he's very impressed by Demiurge's quick wit. But conquering the world is not an easy task. Demiurge also agrees with that. Ains asks Demiurge, so according to his thoughts, what should they do next? Demiurge says he thinks the first step in the plan will be to publicly announce Nazarik to the whole world. Surprising Ains, Demiurge explains that the ones who used the world item on Shultir are still out there. The thing is they can't find them no matter how many different methods they've used. Instead, if they publicly announce their identity to the whole world now, then surely they will automatically come looking, making Ains also see the logic in that. Albedo says she also agrees with that. She understands the reason why Demiurge controlled the Eight Fingers is to make the Re-Estais kingdom recognize Nazarik as an independent organization. However, the idea of Nazarik having to serve some country is unacceptable. Demiurge also agrees with that. He says, not to mention, if they were under the command of another country, they could very likely be taken advantage of by those who brainwashed Shultir, creating unfavorable situations. That's why Demiurge proposes that Ains establish a nation called Nazarik. Surprising everyone, Demiurge says he wants to clarify this, which is that from the very beginning Ains intended to do that, leaving Ains completely dumbfounded. The people below are constantly marveling at his divine calculations. Demiurge says with his incompetence, he can only understand a very small part of Ains's plan, making him tremble. Ains stammers, saying he didn't expect that Demiurge could see through his plan, making everyone below even more confident in what Demiurge just said. He states that he only needs to focus on observing Ains's actions to immediately recognize it. He secretly thinks, holy crap, what plan? Why don't even I know about it? Ains continues to stammer, asking Demiurge what he sees as the most important point in his plan. After a moment of thought, he says it must be Carne Village. Surprising everyone below, they wonder, isn't that just a village of humans? Demiurge explains that it would be as easy as flipping his hand for Ains to destroy humans. But he chose to rule them in peace. That also means that from the very beginning Ains aimed to conquer the world and used Carne Village as an experiment for his rule, making everyone below even more amazed. Ains secretly thinks, oh, the heck. Meanwhile in Carne Village, Enri is chatting with a goblin named Kaijali about Nephiria. She says he's probably still sleeping because he's busy concocting medicine until late every night. Enri thanks Kaijali and his group because thanks to them the village has enough food. That's why today she decided to make a really delicious soup to treat his group, making Kaijali also look forward to it. After that, the two went to the village chief's couple, who appeared very grateful for the contributions of the goblin group. They said if it weren't for Kaijali's group, this village probably wouldn't have been able to survive until today. Enri wonders if they're still that short on manpower, and the village chief immediately confirms. He says that although some people have moved here from other places, basically things are still all over the place. But the village chief affirms that no matter how difficult things get, he and the entire village will try their best to survive until they can repay their debt of gratitude to Ains, and Enri agrees with that. Afterward, Enri and Kaijali go to Nephiria's grandparents' house. She knocks on the door calling for him and his grandma Lizzie to go have breakfast. When Nephiria suddenly opens the door and steps out with an overpowering smell that makes both of them want to faint, he excitedly tells Enri that he just created a purple recovery potion that no one has ever made before. To the bewilderment of Enri and Kaijali, Nephiria continues this could be considered a historic step for humanity. Enri, although not understanding what's going on at all, still congratulates Nephiria. Kaijali suddenly pulls the two apart, saying that this guy seems to still be high, so he tells Enri to just leave Nephiria to him, and she agrees. As soon as Enri leaves, Kaijali immediately scolds Nephiria for not paying more attention to Enri, making him flustered. He knows that Nephiria has liked Enri for a long time, making him shy. Kaijali says if Nephiria has already fallen for someone's daughter, then he needs to show her his strength. But Nephiria says that he's not very confident in his physical strength. Kaijali says that's not the issue. When he gives the signal, Nephiria should show Enri how reliable he is, and Nephiria immediately agrees. A human letting a goblin teach him how to flirt, that's a recipe for disaster. While eating breakfast, the whole goblin gang suddenly starts fighting over who Enri will be the bride of, leaving her speechless. Nephiria on the other side keeps muttering the names of various herbs, making Enri a bit worried. But when Enri asks him, he still says that he's fine. But if he's so fine, why did he scoop soup all over his head like that? On this side, the debate over who will get Enri still hasn't concluded when suddenly a goblin speaks up. He says, hey brothers, don't bother arguing and wasting your time. The battle was decided the moment it began, surprising everyone. He continues, even though I've eaten all the meat in my bowl. For some special reason there's still one piece at the bottom. This is proof of Henry's love for the young man, making the whole group disagree and start bickering loudly. Henry on this side suddenly screams in panic because Nefiria has face planted into his bowl of soup. She hurriedly carries him back to his room to rest. Henry's younger sister Nemu and the goblins there say, shouldn't it be the other way around? Only to be glared at by her, scaring the living daylights out of them. Henry secretly thinks that Jerem and everyone not only protect this village but they also often comfort the villagers. Knowing that people like her have lost their loved ones, Henry wonders if there's anything she can do for them. Meanwhile, at the edge of the village, Jerem is training the villagers how to defend themselves with bows and arrows when enemies attack. The observing goblin says it looks very good. With this many arrows they can hold off the enemy outside for a while. When she sees her older sister working, Nemu proactively runs over to ask to help her, but Henry tells her younger sister to help her continue yesterday's work. And Nemu immediately obeys. Henry secretly thinks that Nemu used to be a mischievous and disobedient girl. But since their parents were killed, she has become much more obedient. The more she thinks about that event, the more it makes Henry angry. And she vents her anger on the knife. When Kaijali carries in the dishes, Henry tells him that she accidentally broke it. Kaijali tells Henry to be very careful because their village currently doesn't have a blacksmith. And even his and the other goblins' weapons can't be maintained, greatly surprising Henry. The two go outside and meet Nemu, who is diligently grinding herbs. The little girl says she will finish everything today, earning Henry praise for Nemu. When Kaijali wonders what this is, Henry explains that this is Enkeshi, a precious medicine that only grows in this area, and it's an important source of income for Karne village. Henry says that she has already picked all the Enkeshi around the village, so maybe she should go deeper into the forest to find more. Just then, a wolf-riding goblin named Kume runs over to report to Henry that it seems like something is happening deep inside the Great Top Forest. But he himself isn't clear on what it is. Kaijali advises Henry to postpone going to pick herbs until they ensure everything is safe. But Henry says Enkeshi only grows during this time of year, so even if it's a bit dangerous, she still wants to go. Kaijali says first he has to report this matter to their leader, Jerem. Jerem orders the goblins under his command that after entering the forest, they should scout around the area where Henry picks herbs to find out what's going on. And they all obey. He also assigns 3 goblins, Goku, Kaijali, and Unlei, to be responsible for her safety. Jerem also asks Nefiria to keep an eye on Henry, and he immediately agrees. Kaijali suddenly gives a signal to Nefiria, surprising him but also confusing Henry. Nefiria secretly thinks, could it be time already? He suddenly says that at all costs he will keep Henry safe, accompanied by a dazzling smile, leaving her only able to shyly say, please take care of everything. Nefiria. After the whole group enters the forest, everyone is amazed by Nefiria's knowledge of various herbs. After searching for a while, they finally discover the herb they were looking for thanks to his experience. Henry suddenly keeps staring intently in Nefiria's direction, making him wonder what's wrong. She shyly says she really admires Nefiria because not only does he know how to distinguish different kinds of herbs, but the way he picks them is also very skillful. When the whole group is about to return to the village, they suddenly hear a strange noise coming from afar, making everyone quickly find a place to hide. A moment later, a small goblin with a body full of wounds runs towards them. Henry immediately wants to step out to help it, but luckily Kaijali's group stops her, because right after that, the bar guest chasing the goblin also slowly appears, surprising everyone. It doesn't seem to have noticed Henry's group due to the strong smell of herbs. The goblins suggest they should quickly retreat, but Henry still wants to save the little one. She turns to look at Nefiria for help. He also agrees with Henry. After all, they have to find out what happened inside this forest. The goblins still want to prioritize Henry's safety above all else. She says that although she herself has no fighting ability, for Henry, seeing someone die without helping is no different from being an accomplice, making the goblins also see the logic in that. When the bar guest is about to attack the little one, it gets provoked by Kaijali's group and switches its attack to them. The bar guest lunges to attack all 3 but is injured in the leg by the goblin bros. Nefiria also provides support from a distance with a vial of super sticky glue and simultaneously buffs their armor. When the 3 are about to finish off the monster, it suddenly uses its chain to attack them, but luckily Henry used her final command, so the 3 manage to avoid that attack. Finally, the whole group successfully defeats the bar guest to Henry's relief. When they go to check the condition of the little one, they discover it's quite badly injured. Nefiria says he should have given this to Ains first, but he has no choice but to use it here. Immediately, the little one's wounds are healed to the shock of it and everyone there. But this little brat named Agu is very rude. He doesn't even bother to thank Nefiria, making these gym bro goblins have to re-educate the kid. Henry asks Agu what happened, and he says he was being chased by the Eastern Giant's subordinates. In addition, Agu reveals shocking news. The Eastern Giants and the Western Evil Snake are forming an alliance, surprising everyone. This part ends here. If you guys enjoyed it, don't forget to like, subscribe to the T95 Recap 2 channel, and leave a comment. Goodbye, and see you in the next video.